All right, Senators, thank you for being patient while we had some technical difficulties. We are now up and running, so I will hereby call to order the 11th meeting of the 62nd session of the Student Senate on October 23rd at 7:07 p.m. With that, before we get started, we do have a couple senators who still need to be sworn in before we can get started. So if I can have Senator Lepetsky and Senator Kennedy come up to the podium, please. So whenever I get to position, you say whatever position you were appointed to, so yours is at large, yours is returning adult member. But until then, repeat after me. Raise your right hand, please. I hereby swear that I will faithfully serve the students of Wichita State University, act in accordance with the Student Government Association Constitution, and fulfill all duties and responsibilities required of the office of
at-large senator.
Returning adults.
I will,
I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the Student Government Association
the Constitution of the Student Government Association
of Wichita State University.
of Wichita State University.
Congratulations. Don't have to shake my hand, but I'm offering you. Please take a seat. With that, we can officially take roll. When I call your name, please answer with either present or here. Senator Azidlani.
Here.
Senator Babin.
Present.
Senator Bradley. Senator Brown.
Here.
Senator Castillo.
Present.
Senator Cowden.
Present.
Senator Cunningham.
Present.
Senator Day.
Here.
Senator Ezell.
Here.
Senator Flores.
Here.
Senator Gibson.
Here.
Senator Glover. Senator Hopper.
Here.
Senator James.
Here.
Senator Kata.
Present.
Senator Kahinde. Senator Kendrick.
Here.
Senator Kennedy.
Present.
Senator Khan.
Here.
Senator Lepetsky.
Present.
Senator Majors.
Present.
Senator Martin. Senator Mattson.
Present.
Senator John Miller.
Present.
Senator Kate Miller.
Here.
Senator Morgan. Senator Mounts.
Present.
Senator Nazir.
Present.
Senator Wayne.
Here.
Senator Peter.
Here.
Senator Ritchie.
Present.
Senator Spencer.
Present.
Senator Taran.
Here.
Senator Tubak.
Here.
Senator Tucker. Senator Wang. Senator Webb.
Present.
Senator Wright.
Present.
Senator Zacharias.
Here.
With that, we have met quorum with 32 total in attendance. Simple majority will be 17. Two-thirds of present will be 22. Two-thirds of majority will be 28. moving into item 5, approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to be noted for the minutes of last week's meeting? Senator Nazir.
Under appointments, Senator Khan's name is spelled incorrectly.
Thank you. Are there any other corrections to last week's minutes? Seeing none, they will be adopted as such with that amendment. Moving into section 6, public forum. Public forum provides a chance for individuals to have the privilege of speaking before the Senate. This is a time for the association to listen to what the community has to say, and to that we offer our undivided respect and attention. I would like to remind everyone that although we allow the speakers the privilege to use this platform, the opinions of the speakers do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the association or the university. Lastly, in the essence of time, we do limit speeches in public forum to a length of 3 minutes unless the speaker has spoken to us about it ahead of time. As such, we do have a few individuals who have requested so. Our first speaker will be Alicia Sanchez, for the Director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
Mic check? Yep, okay. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Sanchez, and it is a privilege to be here. I serve as the director in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Want to provide you a little information about our office, and I want to be respectful of time. So I talk quickly just to be efficient and cover as much information. So we are known as the Home Away from Home. We're located here in the Radigan Student Center in Suite 208. We serve all students, faculty, staff, in the community. Our primary constituents are our students on campus, so we serve undergraduate and undergraduate students here on campus and online students, so really all constituents that are here at the university. Our role is to help mobilize and empower our students to be cognizant and aware of diversity and inclusion on our campus. Our goal is to graduate culturally aware shockers, so we want to make sure that through the programs and resources that we provide that we're doing that. You all should have received a handout about our office, so you can certainly ask any questions about any of the programs and resources that we provide. Throughout the academic year, we have a center that is open for all students of all identities. We're open Monday through Friday in various hours throughout the week. We have about 250 students on average per day that walk through our door. Since the beginning of the semester on August 19th to today, at close at 5 o'clock, we have had over 11,000 students walk through our door. So that equates to about 1,700 unique visitors that come in and out of our office. And so I have a significant breakdown of different data demographics of students, just to kind of give you a snapshot of who's coming through our door. Our primary race and ethnicity is our Hispanic students, so about 2,700 students identify as Hispanic, 1,900 Black non-Hispanic, white non-Hispanic is about 1,400, Asian non-Hispanic 1,300, and of course goes down from there. So certainly provide you those data demographics, but certainly reflects our campus. And so as we do programming, we provide programming around the various heritage and cultural months for students. We go into classrooms to provide workshops and trainings. We do training for faculty, staff, and community as well. So really making sure that we're providing education and awareness on all different demographics. Of course, I only shared with you the race and ethnicity breakdown, but we do LGBTQ programming. We do have discussions around first generation, around socioeconomic status, around religious. So really covering the very vast dimensions of diversity through our office. We also have an academic portion of our office as well, promoting academic student success. It's a program where we target first generation and underrepresented students who are first year students that come into our program. We hope that they'll go through Passage to Success and then transition to get the academic support through our office. We match them up, if they would like, with a peer mentor, someone that will help get them acclimated to campus, connect them to resources, and so forth, and then provide free tutoring for them. And that's actually a service that you help us provide through EOF funding. You would provide $25,000 every year for us to pay the mentors who work in our office with these students. We have about 85 students each year in the program, and then the tutors that we also provide. That funding covers that as well for us. which we greatly appreciate. We do have an LGBTQ coordinator, which is also funded through student fees. That position currently is vacant. We are hoping to fill that in the spring semester once we have a strong candidate pool that we would be able to select from. We have a staff of 5 individuals. Just to give you a breakdown, you have myself as the director, Danielle Johnson, assistant director, Jamie Roberti, our retention specialist, Kwong Win, our marketing specialist, and of course the vacant LGBTQ coordinator. We also have ambassadors that help support our work. We have about 30 ambassadors who are student volunteers. It's a registered student organization, but of course, doing the work that we do on a campus of over 16,000, it's important to have as many change agents that help support our work, be it through tabling, talking about diversity, helping promote and publicize the events that we do on campus, and also doing some of their own programming and outreach throughout the community as well. We have a significant number of student interns that also work in our office to help keep those individuals that are coming through the door happy, whether it's through free printing resources, utilizing our lounge, connecting them to the other resources that we provide in our office. So certainly a plethora of resources that we provide to students, and that's just to name a few. There's a significant amount of things that we do, but programming, training, workshops within the classroom, and making sure that we have a space where individuals can find their home away from home is certainly what we pride ourselves on doing. So I will go ahead and wrap up there and then open it up if there are any questions.
Are there any questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Our next speakers are Provost Muma and Emily Patterson, Executive Director of Facilities Planning.
Good evening, Senators. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. I meet with your Senate leadership monthly, and in our recent conversation, the topic came up about the projects that were on the referendum that you all voted on last year, and you all may remember that even though that did not pass, I was committed to make sure we continue to start to move through some of these projects, and we have made some progress and getting ready to start some construction projects. Emily Patterson is going to go through those, and we'd be happy to answer any questions after she presents those.
So we've handed out the handout here, and it'll walk through the 3 projects that are currently underway. We have one that is about to start construction in Abla Library for the 24-hour study room remodel. Actually, the demolition of that project starts on Monday, so the study room will be closed for the duration of the project while they upgrade it. So if you look at the top one there, you can see that the study space is expanding significantly into the main lobby of the library there. So instead of having it be just in the north corner, all of that space will be available now for study space. The renovation also includes a restroom, and it includes a emergency blue light phone in the area as well for safety. The stations there on the left side of the picture are going to be available with computer workstations like they have now, and there's significant additional furniture and study space that'll be available 24 hours a day. So that one is expected to be complete by the end of the year and open back up and running in time for the spring semester. The second project is the remodel of 2 existing class labs in the Hubbard Hall for biology. When they were originally built in the building, they sized them for 36 students, but biology only teaches in classroom sections of 24 at this moment, and they determined that that was better for serving the students. So there's a lot of extra space in those 2 labs, and so in the same space that I show 3 labs here is the 2 labs that we have now. So we're able to, in the same square footage, fit in 3 labs. When the building was built, the building codes are significantly different, so we have to upgrade HVAC systems to get enough air changes and ventilation to make the space safe for the lab sections that are going in there. So that project will bid right after the new year. We're working on the drawings right now, and the contractor will be on board, order all the materials so that the minute finals finish in May, they'll start demolition and work through very quickly over the summer to get them back up and running for the fall. So that one's happening as well. And the third project is in Alberg Hall, where the student health clinic is right now. When that moves out into the YMCA, that space will become vacant. And we are working, pulling actually 3 colleges together. So the College of Health Professions is part of this because the dental hygiene clinic is right next door. And so we're going to need to work and make sure we have a good waiting room for the dental hygiene clinic. The College of Applied Studies and their play therapy, they're calling it a WISE clinic. I'm not exactly sure what that acronym is, but the WISE clinic, and then the psychology clinic in liberal arts and sciences will be moving over there as well. So they're going to share the same square footage. It makes those 2 projects that would be more expensive separate. They can use the same square footage and collaborate together. So that one is going to be a little longer duration in construction because we can't create dust while the dental hygiene clinic is open. So during the summer when the clinic is closed, we'll do the demolition of the project to get the space all cleared out, and then we'll create a new waiting room for dental hygiene and then start the renovation in the fall after the clinic opens back up. So those 3 projects are underway, and I think all 3 of them will be wrapped up by the end of next year. If there's any questions?
Do we have any questions for our speakers? Senator Mounts, I saw you first.
So first question, I know that it was posted, but I was just wondering, like, where is the money to fund these projects being pulled from since the referendum failed?
Do you want to address that?
So you may remember when we had these conversations about all these projects, one of the things that we knew that we were going to have to do is to centralize what we call shrinkage dollars at the university. And that's from when positions go vacant. There's salary savings that are there. So normally those have been staying in the departments for use in the departments, but we have centralized all those so we can have a pool to deal with these projects in a much more expeditious way.
Any other questions for our speakers? Senator Miller?
So my question's for the library. So basically you're opening up that whole space. Is it still going to be something where we have to use our keys to access it at after hours times?
Yes, actually, if you look at don't have a plan in here, but there's 2 exterior doors on the west side, and both of them will have card access. So it'll be secure after hours just for student use. Yes.
Senator Nazir?
I'm new to this session, so I'm kind of getting used to all of this, but since the referendum did fail, how did you go about going through with it since it wasn't a unanimous decision to go through with it?
Question is, how did we go about making the decisions to move forward on these particular projects or the funding?
I guess since it didn't pass through Senate, what was the process behind like following through regardless of that, if that makes sense?
So when we were discussing the referendum with students and others on campus, we always said if it didn't pass, we'd find other ways to reallocate resources or whatever, and that's what we did. And I said as provost that the number one project that we need to focus on first is that 24-hour study space because it's a safety issue. There's no restroom there. That's one of the number one projects that we were getting feedback that students wanted to get done quickly. These other ones were selected because of timing, and for the biology lab, we knew that we could do that in a short amount of time over the summer. The third project on there are accreditation issues that those 2 programs, the psychology program and the play therapy program, are required to have these clinics in place, and so we knew we needed to focus on that particular project. So Emily didn't talk about some other ones that we're also working on, and that's Henry and Hall. We're doing some infrastructure kinds of things right now in phase 1 of that facility, but that didn't really require so much around the timing of when students are in that building. So that's kind of the processes that we've gone through.
Senator Kata?
So my question is about the Hubbard Hall. So you're going to renovate the level 3 300A room, right?
There are 3 rooms on that floor. There are 2 rooms that are getting renovated into 3 rooms.
So it's the actual room is 300A and it is actually the 2 rooms and you're going to renovate into 3 rooms, right?
I think they're labeled 304 and 305 right now.
Okay.
I think 300A is the stairway on that plan.
Got it.
Yes.
So did you already mention it to the department we are going to?
Oh, definitely. They've been requesting this for a while,
Mhm.
and we've worked very closely with them throughout the process. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Senator Day.
Thank you. Is there a decent means for students to communicate or suggest improvements to campus facilities, such as a website or another forum?
You're asking, is there a mechanism that we could put this on a web page or something? along
No,
those lines?
what I mean is, because students are people who want improvements in certain areas, are there ways for students to communicate what they want to you guys?
Yes, there are ways to do that, and one of the things that I've talked about with your leadership is having conversations about future projects that we might want to tackle. When the business building is built, Clinton Hall will be vacated. I believe that you all are working on a survey and adding questions about that to kind of get at some of these kinds of things. But I'll let your Senate leadership address how they feel like they would like to go forward on that. We're open to whatever mechanism that is.
Senator Zacharias.
For the restrooms in Abla Library, what type of restrooms will they be?
We're adding one single hole restroom, so single toilet restroom in the renovation.
Senator James.
So going back to Senator Mount's first question, since you took away the shrinkage dollars from those departments, did that mean that you took funding away? I'm just trying to get a clear understanding.
So it's utilized in different ways in different departments. So if there's salary savings in a department, they could have used those to do a whole bunch of different kinds of things depending on what they wanted to do. But I made it really clear when we were discussing the referendum, we were going to have to find another way to do this. So it means that they don't have those dollars available to do whatever they want to do at their discretion. However, we did leave some of those dollars available to them in case they needed to, do some hires of adjuncts or if there's some small things that they wanted to do. And then there's also an opportunity for them to petition to our committee that we've created to kind of monitor those and disperse those dollars to utilize them back in their department. So we didn't take away everything from the departments.
Senator Zilani.
So I don't know how infrastructure fees work, but would it increase for next year or for next semester?
Does any of this increase your fees?
Well, yeah, like the infrastructure fees that we have to
No.
pay. No. Okay.
So you guys defeated that referendum, or not you guys, but in general, students did, and so we didn't increase fees.
Senator Babin.
Are there bid estimates for each of these projects?
Sure. The construction cost is what we have right now. So the Abla Library 24-hour study room, the cost of construction was $150,000. Right now, our cost estimate for construction for the biology lab remodels is $515,000. And the Albert Hall Psychology Clinic, we're at about $550,000.
Senator Ritchie.
I have a question related to the shrinkage dollars that you mentioned. Do you happen to have an estimate of what departments and what colleges those were taken for, maybe the breakdown at all?
It's the entire university. So any salary savings from vacant position goes into a centralized pool. So it just depends on if there's any vacancies. We don't take the position, just the salary that's lapsed when it's vacant. So if there is a vacancy, the department can search for a replacement, but the dollars that are just sitting in there and not being used, we're putting those into a centralized pool.
Senator Mounts, do you still have a question?
So in the instance of the shrinkage dollars, if that position were to get filled, where would these projects get the funding then after that?
Well, these are all one-time funding cost, and so we just have available the dollars that when the position goes vacant. So it's not an endless amount of money.
Are there any other questions for our speakers before your follow-up? Senator Nguyen?
I have a question about the ABLA library, the 24-hour study room. I know it's not in the renderings, but is there any plans to put a printer in there for students to use?
I did just see that today, and they do have a printer. I believe they do as well right now, and it's a similar printer arrangement, yes.
Senator Mounts?
I know there's a decent usage of the 24-hour study area, so is there going to be any alternative for students to use through the rest of the year?
I think that's a good question for the library. They have some signage up right now, so I think if you want to reach out to the library, they'd have a good answer for that.
Any other questions for our speakers? Senator Flores?
Have any departments been, have they petitioned to push back against the funding that's being taken from them?
So your question is, have any departments, for lack of a better way to say it, complained about dollars being taken? Oh, yeah. No one likes this. But again, remember, I made it really clear when we were debating this that we were going to have to find ways to do these projects because we all thought that they were important to do. We tried to minimize that by spreading it across the entire university.
Any other questions for our speakers? Senator Mounts?
You mentioned the committee that kind of deals with the, I guess, budgeting. So what is that committee called, and are those meetings and minutes available readily?
The committee, it would be called Shrinkage Dollars Committee. I mean, we don't really have an official name for it, but it's to evaluate the shrinkage dollars. So it's me and the Vice President for Finance and Administration, Werner Goling, David Miller, who is our Director of the University Budgets, and Lois Tatro, who is our Director of Financial Operations, Associate Vice President for Financial Operations. Those are the four individuals.
Senator Flores?
Can you disclose how many shrinkage dollars there are?
It depends, because it depends on if a position goes vacant. I won't be able to tell you that because we've never done this before, centralized it like this. I won't be able to tell you until the end of the fiscal year to let you kind of know what this year's look like.
Senator Majors?
I was just wondering if there was any access to documentation that gives a breakdown of how the estimates are broken down within each project, like what money's going where within each project. Like you gave the estimate of $515,000, how that would be broken down.
Sure. I mean, it's broken down by construction division, so they break it down by HVAC, lighting, demolition. Yes, we do that for every project, and it's something we use as a tool to make decisions through a project to make sure we're staying on budget.
Before we get to your follow-up, are there any other questions? Senator Ezell?
Just for clarification, are you saying that the funding is either coming from private donations or salary savings?
So all of these projects are being funded through shrinkage dollars, which is salary, lapsed salary. You know, when a position goes vacant, there's salary that's sitting there. It's those dollars. There's none of these projects have any private donations. So I have to say, though, I have to clarify, for the construction costs, there's no private dollars for the 24-hour study space, but the library is using some of their foundation dollars to buy all the furniture.
Senator Mounts?
So you've didn't answer part of my question on the shrinkage dollar committee. Are those meetings open, and are there minutes for those meetings that are available?
There's no minutes for them, all meetings are open, so we haven't really had a routine schedule to actually schedule those meetings because we haven't had any meetings yet.
Senator Majors.
Okay, so given that there is documentation of how the funds are broken down, I was just wondering if there was any student, or more specifically student government, access to how that's broken down.
Well, the estimates are just used as a planning tool as we go through to make sure that we're staying on budget before we put it out to bid. But all of these projects are bid through our on-call contractors, and that's all public, yes.
Any other questions for our speakers? Senator Mounts.
I know this wasn't discussed on what you're presenting to us today, but where was the money? No, I can't ask. I was going to ask.
We're only discussing the projects that are presented. Okay. Any other questions relevant to the projects that were presented? Seeing none, thank you for your time. All right. I will say, if you have additional questions for other areas, to contact them after. With that, our next speaker is Tanner Morrell, Manager of Parking and Transportation.
Good evening. I was asked to come and just give a brief synopsis on parking by the student advocate as well as the Senate chair. Is that your official position, you the Senate chair? Okay. I wanted to have the opportunity to introduce myself as well. Of course, you heard my name. It's Tanner Morrell. I came here from Columbia, Missouri recently, where I was a parking manager out there for the city. Previously, I had worked in Logan, Utah, home of Utah State University. That's where I'm originally from, in parking. Got into parking enforcement as a way to sort of give me some extra income while I was studying to become a teacher at school. And kind of ventured into parking away from teaching, and that's what's brought me here. I've got 4 children and a wife, and we've loved Wichita so far. So thanks for the warm welcome. I just want to tell you what we hope to accomplish here at Wichita State, and that's our ultimate goal in parking and transportation is to provide safe, efficient, and creative solutions for campus access, and to promote alternative transportation options for students, faculty, visitor, and staff. What have we done since I've been here in June? We've installed bigger color screens on our kiosks at our parking garages, which enable a quicker, more customer-friendly parking experience, we feel. We created the informative do's and don'ts parking cards you may have seen downstairs in the info hub here at RSC, as well as some other places. Reworded the parking informational flyers we hand out to visitors to make them more friendly to the visitor. Opened a new mixed-use parking lot to the south of the suites, milled, overlaid, and striped lots 1315. Created 2 new shuttle stops on Mid-Campus Drive, installed lights and more signage at crosswalks we hope will enable obviously more safety there, and developed a Twitter account, revamped our Facebook account, and improved our text alert system. What do we hope to accomplish further in the near future? We want to bring e-scooters onto campus. We've heard from various representatives, students as well, that you want to have more micro-mobility options here on campus. We've drafted and proposed a contract and sent it out to the 2 scooter companies that currently have a contract with the city of Wichita. The contract would enable scooter companies to distribute scooters here at Wichita State that would be enabled to be operated on streets, sidewalks, and lots. Geofencing would throttle the scooter's speed on the sidewalks and disable operation altogether in certain other areas, such as university halls and the parking garage. Hours of operation for the scooters will mirror those set forth by the city of Wichita. Basically, it's dawn to dusk. Once contracts are signed, which we hope will take place this fall, in fact, within the next couple of weeks, we're hoping, we'll work with you students on finding, on identifying e-scooter distribution areas throughout campus where these scooters can be distributed by the e-scooter companies, rented and returned by the WSU community. We also hope to enable a pay-by-phone app in the hourly section of the parking garage so that students who park there and can pay on the go, remotely extend their parking session from class, lectures, meetings such as this. Lastly, what do we hope to accomplish long term? Improve parking communication for the WSU community as a whole. We want to find new ways to educate all on their parking transportation options. We want signage to be uniformed, posted conspicuously, with a clear and concise message that notifies the WSU community what their parking and transportation options are and alerts them to any potential parking restrictions. We want to look at potentially renaming lots and restructuring the color code system. Heard from a lot of people that it's confusing. When I got here on campus, I was wondering why lot 7 is next to lot 36 and far away from lot 5 and that kind of stuff. We want to work with new organizations arriving here on campus, such as the hotel, to not just serve their customers, but the whole WSU community. Create more interaction with the community around us through new routes and shuttle stops. And lastly, continue to find and implement new micro-mobility options that are hopefully green, affordable, and enable students to get to and from their desired destinations. That's it.
Do we have any questions for our speaker? Senator Mounts, I saw you first.
So I know that the speed that the scooters can get up to is about 15 miles an hour on the streets of Wichita. Are there going to be slower limits here on campus? Because I know I've almost been hit multiple times by people with like electric scooters and skateboards and things like that.
So the maximum speed is proposed to match the city of Wichita at 15, but 8 miles per hour on the sidewalks.
Senator James.
When you say restructuring the color coding system, can you speak a little bit more on that?
Restructuring the
color coding system on our parking lots?
Yeah, so right now it's yellow and green to signify, green signifies student parking, yellow signifies faculty, staff, and then there's green-yellow striping, which is a mixture of both. The signs look okay. It when you're standing in front of the lot, it's pretty clear to understand. And wording, not so much, because it says don't park in the yellow, but you can park in the green-yellow lots. And we've gotten a lot of complaints regarding that. So does the green-yellow mixed lots need some different color, purple or something, so that it reads a little bit better? So that it's a little bit easier to communicate your parking options. That's the kind of stuff we want to take a look at.
Senator Izzo.
Because typically in the city of Wichita, speed limits are either 35 or 40 miles per hour, while the speed limit for the scooters are 15. On the WSU campus, it's 20. Will you take into account the fact that it's disproportionate, the fact that the scooters can almost go as fast as the cars and may cause a safety hazard?
So yeah, there's obviously a lot of safety concerns. We want to work with the e-scooter companies to give promotions for helmets and other safety precautions. It's a bit difficult working with these e-scooter companies that have already set up shop here in Wichita, because we want the interaction with the outside community. We want people to be able to come from Wichita to WUSU and vice versa. And there are a lot of limitations as to what can and cannot be done. For instance, they can't set a certain speed limit rate for the city of Wichita and then throttle that here at WSU. We can on the interior of the campus, those sidewalks. That's why we can make an 8 mile per hour zone. It becomes a little bit trickier on the exterior that outlines the city of Wichita as a whole.
Senator Nguyen.
You mentioned that there are 2 scooter companies. Can you tell us the names of those and how much it's going to cost the university?
Yeah, Zagster and Spin. Zagster and VioRide are like one company, and then there's Spin as well. Won't cost the university anything. We charge the e-scooter companies. We're proposing $1 per scooter per day. We don't want all of campus outlined with just scooters just dumped here everywhere. Our proposal is, like I said, to have these designated spaces, designated spots. Maybe RSC would be a really good spot, as well as perhaps shuttle stops, maybe stops near some of our outlier mixed-use lots that don't get too much use right now, so that we can encourage people to park on the outliers and take these scooters in. Yeah, so yeah, if you go down to the city of Wichita right now, you'll find these VioRide and Zagster. Zagster also makes our bikes here at the Bike Share program here at Wichita State, which is very popular and seeing good numbers.
Senator Zacharias.
So downtown, the scooters are $1 to start and then 15 cents per minute afterwards. I know that the bikes have a discount rate of $20 a year for use for students. Is there any talk about getting a discount for these scooters for student use?
So to answer your question, no, there hasn't been any talks as of yet. That would completely be up to the scooter companies at this minute. It's a lot like Pepsi, or Chick-fil-A. We're inviting them onto campus, but they set the rates.
Senator Ritchie.
Speaking in terms of like convenience and I get communication, but anyway, so a big concern of my constituents, the Fine Arts College, has been during basketball season and parking. Has there been any talk to help ease the pressure when basketball season comes and like the School of Music has like late night rehearsals, but there's no parking available? What has that department done to maybe address those concerns? Is my question?
Yeah, great question. I'm new here, and the answer is no. There hasn't been much discussion, but it's we're revamping our whole event application process next year. Historically, we've given parking away for free to departments. We want to start finding a way to charge for this parking. It is a commodity just like anything else here at Wichita State. With that, we also want to take a hard look at ensuring that we're not squeezing the balloon, so to speak. We're not, squeezing it in one spot and putting all the pressure on other departments like what you were talking about to, try and find alternative parking for their members. So yeah, we want to take a real hard look at that, and those changes will be coming next summer.
Senator Nazir.
I'm sure since you started, you've heard about like how parking is often like a student's biggest concern, like as a whole. So have you thought about using that to your advantage by making like a campus-wide survey, addressing what we do and don't like about parking, what kind of adjustments we could make, for example, addressing students who are disabled and their parking situations and how they feel about it? Have you kind of thought about reaching out to students and seeing what they would want to see in our parking?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I just purchased our first event tent, and we've got a tablecloth, and we've been to some of these events, and yeah, we're definitely out there shaking hands and getting to know students and taking their concerns. So yeah, a campus-wide survey is definitely in the works, and I'd be more than happy to meet with any of you concerning your parking concerns, suggestions, comments.
Senator Mounts.
So I don't know if this is under your jurisdiction, but the Y parking, how is that situation going to work, and how will that affect not only students but community members as well?
We're still in discussions with exactly how that will work. One thing that's come up is the possibility of perhaps timed parking, something that would enable someone that a student that wants to take advantage of the whatever the Y is offering, but not park there to go to classes kind of thing. Give them enough time to do that. There is a breezeway that will extend from Research Place through the YMCA and onto the flats over there, and so accessibility via scooters and other micromobility options is definitely going to be available immediately. As far as parking, it's something that we haven't quite figured out just yet.
Senator Lepetsky.
Has there been any talk about maybe bringing more green lots onto campus, whether that's making more yellow/green lots, or maybe even making a section of the parking garage green, or anything like that, just for more parking for students on campus?
Not much, but it's something that I definitely want to take a look at. Like I said, we did open up the suites lot recently. That added an extra, I think 75, 80 spaces of mixed use.
Senator Gibson, do you still have a question?
I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but on average, how many people buy red parking spots per year?
That's a good question, and one that just came up. It was a little under 1,000. It was like 960 reserved spaces throughout all of campus, and that's student, faculty, departments, as well as visitors. There's just a little under 6,000 spaces, so it's roughly 1/6 of all parking spaces.
Before we get to your follow-up, Senator Flores.
Okay, yeah, I have a question about scooters. So have you gotten opinions from students, and have you made any sort of surveys to gauge the popularity amongst the students at Wichita State?
So not scooters, but we have met with various student representatives. Terry Hall, and we met with Josie and copied a bunch of other people in. At this juncture, we haven't had too much student involvement. I'll be completely honest with you there, but we want to bring the students in more as we're getting ready to place these distribution stops out, and get your thoughts on where they would be most beneficial.
Senator Spencer.
Hi. So you talk about wanting to get students more involved in getting their opinions on these matters. How do you plan on doing that? Do you plan on giving a survey? Do you plan on talking to them personally, one-on-one with the students about things that they want to see? Like, what's your idea for that?
Sure, absolutely. I think the survey is a great idea and one that we had been toying with. I go to parking conferences, and that's one thing that they had suggested to try and engage the students. With opening up my position, we've created this one-stop shop, so to speak. Parking used to be handled by 3 or 4 different people, and I'm located at the police department. My door is always open, so I would very much welcome the opportunity to meet with any of you.
Senator Zacharias.
Have there been any discussions about adding bike lanes that bikes and scooters could use around in the roads on campus?
There's not, but I will add that to a list of things that we need to take a look at. Thank you.
Senator Khan.
All right, so first of all, welcome to Wichita. And so my question is, do you know how many parking spots there are on campus and how many of them are available? So when I say available, I mean they're not blocked off by construction or equipment that is in those parking lots.
Good question. So there's just under 6,000 spaces total. And no, we don't have really good data on that, and that's part of why we want to create this system wherein a department, organization, event committee, whoever it may be, can go apply for a parking space, pay for the parking space, and we should be able to get more data on exactly how many spots are being taken on any given day. We do have an event calendar, and we put out lot notification via social media and whatnot. We have not put out the number of stalls that we would take. We have just said something like, lot 2 west is closed today, sort of thing. If it would be beneficial, we can definitely start putting something to the effect, 100 stalls will be taken away today. Please find alternative parking. But we do hope to get those numbers in the future.
And just for clarification, you're talking about a charge to those that would be taking up a stall instead of whoever had a pass, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Ritchie.
Referring back to the answer you gave to Senator Mounts' question about the YMCA parking, you talked about the timed parking meters. Just for clarification, strictly for clarification, would that just be timed? Would that be like a parking meter situation?
It would be like a timed parking spot. So you'd be given like an hour and a half or whatever to, do your workout at the Y and use the showers and whatnot. But it would discourage people from trying to park there long term to both hit a workout and then maybe go to class, something to that extent.
Senators, as a reminder, parliamentary procedure, you should not be using other senators' names. So it would be a previous question or as a previous senator has said, something like that. Senator Nazir, I had you next.
From your answer from a previous senator, sorry, referring to the student involvement in the decision of adding scooters, since there wasn't too much student input on that, just from your professional opinion, do you think that might create like distrust in students since it is such a huge problem, like parking as a whole, just because since students, like my constituents, they don't feel as if their voices are heard when it comes to parking. So do you think there might be a conflict with that specific situation?
Yeah, actually, yes. I was told to get a contract and to get it in place quickly because we wanted time to try and pilot things before it got too cold. The thought was they're here at Wichita State University. Various students had already voiced their opinion, their desires to bring scooters to Wichita. In fact, the whole bringing of scooters to Wichita was spearheaded by a Wichita State University student. So the thought was let's get this done quickly. Let's mirror what Wichita has done to a large extent because they've heard from students. Let's work upon what they've already done. That wasn't to say that we didn't leave students out in the cold at all, but that was our thought process, and that's how we approach things. Let's try and get scooters as quickly as possible, create that interaction, that e-commerce between Wichita State University and Wichita. The Sunflower had ran an article and got opinions as well as other various entities. So we felt like we had a pretty good gauge without holding actual one-on-one meetings with the students. We felt like we had a pretty good gauge on what they wanted, and we hope that what we've created signifies that.
Senator Ezel.
So earlier you said that there were 6,000 parking spots on campus. Based on the information that the university has made available, I did the math, and there are 10,227 undergraduate students alone. So because of that, are there any plans to increase parking on campus for students?
That's a real good question. I would hope so. We do see a lot of underutilized lots, which I'm hoping we'll be able to utilize with the e-scooters. Parking is always perceived as a problem, and it's because parking isn't always available right at your door, right at the door to your destination. But take a walk around campus on any given day, and there's plenty of parking in the outlier spots. And the Metroplex, which is free parking, which I encourage you all to take advantage of. You can hop on a free shuttle, and we've got 4 shuttles that are just round the clock going back and forth from the Metroplex. I've never seen that more than 60% occupied. So there is parking. Land space is definitely a commodity, and are they going to build another parking lot, or are they going to build a new Spirit building? It's something that people with a much higher salary range than myself, unfortunately, are making those type of decisions. But there is parking, and sometimes it doesn't feel like it when we've arrived. We've got a class at 9 o'clock, and we've arrived at 8:55, and we want it right next to our class. I don't have a reserved spot, and I did that intentionally so I could kind of get a feel as to how parking feels on any given day. I arrive outside of the police department, lot 15, lots 13, and some days there's no parking there, and I have to go over to lot 7 by the baseball diamond and take a walk. And I realized that I didn't get that I didn't plan out very well. It wasn't a very good time management effort on my part. Usually if I get there within 15 minutes before work starts, I'm able to find something. But if it's 5 minutes, 4 minutes, or whatever, it's tough to find a spot sometimes. So there's parking. I believe it's a time management issue, and it's once again those people that want to park directly in front of their desired destination. Sometimes, unfortunately, that's not reasonable.
Senator Mounts.
So, assuming there are roughly 1,000 red spots, how many green spots are there specifically? And this includes not only just green spots, but in lots where there are green and yellow.
I don't have those numbers. I've got the number of green lots is 7 and 13 green-yellow mixed lots. But I can get you those numbers.
Senator Khan.
So recently we had Food for Fines, and knowing that you have worked at a different university before Wichita State as a parking manager, my question is, what is your perspective of Food for Fines here on Wichita State campus?
It's definitely a great thing. What a wonderful opportunity it is to not only be able to help out your fellow students, give to a good cause, but also get some citations waived and hopefully get a parking education out of it. We encourage students, well, one of the things that's required when you do that is to take our parking quiz. I don't know how many people are in here are aware that we have a parking quiz online. You can go online, and it takes about 5 minutes to take it is all. But it gives you some general parking questions and multiple choice answers, and you get an opportunity to educate yourself on parking. One thing you'll notice if you come and visit me in my office, I've got a huge parking map on my back wall, and that was not only so I could orientate myself, but also anybody that comes into my office. I believe in going hard on vehicles. I believe in ticketing vehicles. I believe that my officers should be out there making a presence. They should go hard on vehicles, softer on people. I like to go by the LEAPS approach. I like to listen, emphasize, ask questions, paraphrase, state, but I also would add an extra S on there, and that's safe face. Anytime that I can point to that map there and say, okay, here's your parking options. Maybe your discussion with me didn't quite end up the way you wanted it today. I'm still upholding your ticket, but we can avoid a citation in the future. Now you know where to park. Now you know who to come to with parking questions. Now you know what numbers to call. Now you know what social media to follow. Now you know to sign up for the text. So it's always an educational opportunity, and yeah, that's what I'm hoping to give to the students. So I think it's a great program. I've found that as far as the citations have been that are waived, the amount is excessive when compared to other universities. We're not other universities, so we'll just have to see if. One thing I have found, unfortunately, is that I was hoping that our parking quiz would educate students enough that there would be less repeat offenders. We're finding that there's more repeat offenders, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's people taking advantage of that Food for Fines program, racking up multiple citations. I'm going to have to do some more data. Right now, it's all speculation. But I think it's a great program. To answer your questions, I think it's one that needs to continue. There's been other things like tickets for toys discussions. Something with, I know there's a muscular dystrophy walk in April, and maybe we could lock up a couple of parking security officers, raise some money for muscular dystrophy or something like that. So I'm all for those kind of things, absolutely.
Senator Nguyen.
Sorry to keep you jumping between different topics for questions, but this question is going to be more about the concreteness of your plans to put in scooters.
Yes.
So you voiced earlier that it's your intention to get more directly the students' opinions about scooters on campus or about any parking issues. And so in a hypothetical situation, given that student government is an avenue in which we can facilitate students' voices, if students, by next week, if we were to hold some type of survey where students felt like they didn't want scooters on campus, what would be your reaction to that, and how concrete are plans?
It's not too late at all. We haven't signed any contracts yet, so I'd be open up to the scooters are for you. They're to serve you the students. So and it's a pilot program. I think I mentioned that, but if I didn't, it's a pilot program. It's one that we can tweak, and it's one that we're not held to for years on end. It's something that we can evaluate and see how it goes.
Senator Nazir.
Jumping back to the whole food for fines discussion, since there was a Senate meeting where we had a very long discussion regarding the rules and how many items you can bring in, just because we didn't want to abuse the opportunity. So regarding parking tickets, how many, when you pay for a parking citation, where does that money go to? Is it just solely for parking and transportation? Does it go to some part of the university? Where does that go?
It goes right into a parking fund, and that pays for all sorts of things from personnel to the debts on our parking garage to maintenance on our parking lots. There's obviously, as you drive around, there's a lot of lots that need care, which is why we did the mill-in overlay on lots 13 and 15 this summer. So yeah, it goes into the parking general fund, and we are in the process of creating a maintenance, a service calendar schedule, and identifying which lots need immediate attention, which do not. Yeah, so the like I said, the parking garage and restriping of the lots, that all goes into it as well.
Senator Mounts.
Back to scooters, this is more of just like a general safety question, because I know ice can be a huge issue. Do the scooters, I guess, shut down or not work during inclement weather?
That was one question we had for him. The answer, unfortunately, is no. From my talking with them, the e-scooter companies, they don't plan on distributing too much during these cold winter events anyway. If there's ice or snow, you probably won't find too many scooters out there anyway.
Senator Day.
How much revenue was raised from parking citations last year, and how much is the parking fund right now?
I know that the parking fund is roughly $2.5 million. I don't know the revenue from the citations.
Senator Ezel.
Do you happen to know the operational costs of your department?
I don't.
Senator Mounts.
So how many spaces, I don't know if you know this number or not, but how many spaces are restricted to, I guess, ticket holders during, say, basketball games?
I don't have those exact numbers.
Senator Ritchie.
Would you have to know the typical capacity of the parking garage, just in general?
Yeah. So we've sold out all of our reserve spaces on the first level. The yellow, the uncovered top level, which is yellow faculty staff parking, is roughly 85% full. The hourly parking on the second and third levels very rarely reaches more than 50% on any given day. So that's one reason why we want to give students that pay by phone option. Try and encourage them to utilize that a little bit more.
Any other questions for our speaker? Senator Gibson?
The temporary parking spaces that are like 15 to 30 minutes, are they regulated every 15 to 30 minutes, or is it like a day?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you too well.
The temporary parking spaces that are like 15 to 30 minutes, are they regulated every 15 to 30 minutes?
The temporary spaces where?
Yeah, like, so the 15 to 30 minute parking spaces, like,
Oh, yeah.
are they checked out every 15 to 30 minutes, or is it a day like the rest of the parking spots?
You're talking if those 30-minute spaces around campus are part of the parking lot?
No, like, are they regulated, like, at those intervals? Like, are they checked out to see
Are they
if...
regularly enforced?
Yeah.
Yes, we do have a parking services officer that's driving around and actively enforcing those.
Any other questions for our speaker? Senator Ritchie?
Has there been any concern that's been brought to you by the fine arts colleges? Because and the reason I ask is because I know some of my colleagues and other constituents I have, like I said before, around basketball season, when the lots get filled up and they have to tote like their instruments, that can be a real burden for them. Has that been something that's brought to your attention? And is there anything that you've been on the lookout in terms of that?
No, but I'm not here to stand and tell you that parking's 100% fine and there's no problems whatsoever. So let me know. My email address, I wish I had a card for everybody here, but it's Tanner, TANNER.Morrell, MORRELL @wichita.edu. My extension is 5526, and I encourage anyone to reach out, let me know.
Senator James?
And where'd you say your office is located?
At the police department, which is so it's just right directly across the lot from Grace Wilkie, over by the research place, right across from the Y on Mid-Campus Drive.
Any other questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you ever so much for your time. With that, I'll now open it up to the rest of the floor. Is there anyone wishing to speak in public forum at this time?
Hi, my name is Jared Novak. I am the Vice President of the Student Veteran Organization. We wanted to come to you today and talk about an event that we have coming up. It's starting actually on this Saturday. The Student Veteran Organization will be planting flags in lieu of our Veterans Day celebrations. These flags, we're going to be planting 22 a day for 16 days. With this, each flag is going to have a couple different things on it. One is going to be a crisis action card, a dog tag, and then a couple of them were in conjunction with the HESCIT. A couple of them will actually have other cards made that if you redeem at the HESCIT, you will get a free t-shirt. The reason we are doing this, 22 veterans a day end up committing suicide, and this is while this is a military type event, everybody can relate to it in some way, shape, or form. We are also holding this event for 16 days. The 16 will end up being 356 flags. This represents active duty year-to-date suicides. The whole purpose of this is to get the awareness, everything else out. So we're actually creating a flag hunt. What we want you guys to do is pass it around. We're going to have people there with these cards. They'll have a number on it. 1 through 22 the first day, 22 through 44, so on and so forth until we reach 356. We want you to take a selfie with the card itself without disturbing the flag. Hashtag SVO22, and you'll be entered in for a prize drawing. This will go all the way on through till the 11th of November, and then on the 12th we will actually do a raffle. First person that we draw their name from will get a $50 Amazon gift card. Second person will get a $25 Amazon gift card. So like I said, we're just trying to put out the word. Let all your organizations get involved with this. We do not have any flyers to pass out, but if you go to our SVO webpage, you'll be able to see the event there. And then, of course, you can always talk to Senator Miller. Sorry. Amen. Anyways, that's all we have to say about that. Any questions? That's all.
Do we have any questions for our speaker? Senator Lepetsky?
Is it a Facebook page that is on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you for your time. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in public forum at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into Section 7, Officer Reports. Item A, President Miller's report.
Hello, everyone. So first thing I will discuss is what Provost Muma mentioned earlier, was that Clinton Hall, basically. So as I hope most of you know, one of Vice President Barth and I's platform goals was to create or start a conversation in regards to creating a student support services building on campus. That was one of the items that was on the referendum. However, since the referendum failed, that means that was no longer happening, at least right away. So that was something that I personally became super passionate about and would like to see on campus. I know that that's not something that's going to happen this session, but creating those conversations so hopefully next sessions can then make sure that actually happens. So like Provost Muma mentioned, we have created 2 questions in our annual SGA survey. One just being if they support an idea of a student support services building taking over Clinton Hall once it's vacated, and then the second being if they would still support it if there was a fee to help renovate Clinton Hall, because there are renovations that would need to be done before anybody could really move into that building once again. So those are the 2 questions. First, I really just wanted to get general student input to see if there is a support for this type of building before we moved on to create a full survey about it, to see what kind of offices and services that they would like in that building. So then next, I have started receiving student fees applications. Thank you to everyone who has applied. However, we only have 8 applications, and there's a total of 15 seats? 15 seats. For constituency groups. There's 18 total, however. So we still need more applications, so if you are interested, please apply. We are needing individuals for... I left my paper back there. Applied studies, fine arts, freshman, international. Is that it? I think so. I think those ones, but if you want to apply for a different seat, that is perfectly fine also. But we really need people for those positions in particular, because we haven't received any applications for those. I would
caution applying for LAS or at large because we have received 6 applications for those out of our 8. So obviously we have plenty of options for those. It's really those other constituency seats that we really need applicants for. So we have 8 of those total. I have 1 Supreme Court interview coming up, 1 for Elections Commission, and 1 Senator interview coming up as well. And then we also have 1 application for the Chief of Operations position. So all of those interviews should take place by November 4th. I think they're scheduled in that time frame, starting today through November 4th. Another thing, the JAG-K conference is next Wednesday, so a week from today, October 30th. I'm still needing people to serve as a panel member. I need 1 more individual for the 11:15 to 12 p.m. time frame, and then I need 4 to 5 people for the 12 to 12:45 p.m. time frame. If you are interested, or you know of somebody else who might be interested or would be a good panel member, please encourage them to reach out to me. Just once again, the JAG-K conference is Jobs for American Graduates in Kansas. So it's for at-risk middle school and high school students, just to learn about how college can be beneficial for them, services, things like that. So we're really looking for those panel members who might identify more with those middle school and high school students. Also, if you haven't seen the Facebook page yet, on November 6th at 3:30, we have an opportunity to read to the kids at the Child Development Center, which I think is going to be super fun. If you're interested in that, please sign up on the Facebook page. I do believe our DPR has created a sign-up sheet on the Facebook page, so check out that. If you are interested, we are meeting in the office at 3:30 on November 6th. If you want to meet us there, you need to meet us there at 3:45. If you want those times and dates, you can look at the Facebook page, or you can talk to me later, and I will get those to you. Also, last thing is the Health and Wellness is coming up also on November 6th at 2 p.m. If you'd like to provide input to the YMCA and the health and wellness aspect of campus, please attend. There's no application. You can just show up. I'd prefer for you to let me know if you would like to attend. That way I know how many to expect. But I would love to have you all there. So that's it for myself. The treasurer, she said that she had nothing to report on this week. Mostly it's just been day-to-day operations and working with the Budget and Finance Committee. And then for Director of Public Relations, we tabled at Woo's birthday bash, and I have gathered the student feedback and put it in the document I shared on Facebook. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. And that is all I have.
Are there any questions for the President? Senator Izzo.
When will student fees meet?
So the first meeting is supposed to take place November 4th from 1 to 2 p.m. So as soon as we start getting people appointed to that, we'll just have them attend, and they meet every other week from 1 to 2. So I have the dates written down back there on my paper that I left. So if you want those dates, please let me know. But once again, if, like I mentioned last week, if you are interested in applying to the Student Fees Committee and serving on that committee, but that time frame where the meetings are scheduled does not work for you, just let us know. Please apply anyways, and we'll try and work around something.
Senator Day.
How many people have applied for the Chief of Operations position?
Just 1.
Senator Lepetsky.
For the JAG-K panel, can anyone do it? Like, would I be able to send that email that you sent me to, like, other people so they could sign up?
I would prefer it if you reached out to me with names,
Okay.
because I really am looking for individuals who come from more of that at-risk background.
Yep.
That way the middle school and high school students that will be coming can, identify more with those panel members.
Okay.
So, yeah. If you have suggestions, please...
I'll email you.
Yeah, or even tell them to reach out to me. That way I can provide more information. Either way works.
Okay.
Any other questions for the President?
But also, just one more thing about JAG-K. That is next week, so I need those names, if you have any names, like ASAP. Please and thank you.
Thank you for your time. With that, we'll move into item B, Vice President's report. So a lot of what I've been doing is administrative and or participating in some of the things in which you have heard. Some of the things that are new are for the community garden. We have a meeting set with facilities on Monday. I do believe it's either 9:30 or 10. I have to check after this and figure out which one we decided on. But with that, in the email I sent out to all of you, which brings me to another point that Senator Mounts brought to my attention. Some of you have not gotten my latest email. I switched going from the email that was provided into all of the Shocker emails. So if you didn't get it in your preferred email, it's in your Shocker email. But with that, I'll also upload the designs in which that I have to Shocker Sync so you can download them from there. It goes for any of y'all or anybody watching. But I have come up with a couple drafts, and I'll still be working on a few others. The two that I have that we're going to be talking to facilities about are kind of the large scale, the max of what we want to do. And it kind of goes into how to use the space appropriately, whether it's a vegetable garden or later down the line it's decided we don't want to grow food anymore, but it can easily be converted into a memorial flower garden or something like that. So you wouldn't have to spend additional money other than the seeds and the plants and actually spending the time to do that. But also creating it so that it is, number one, aesthetic, because nobody wants to go and work in a place that looks like a trash heap. But it's also part of the like building code and whatnot for WSU. Anything built here has to meet a certain standard. But it is also meant to kind of draw people in. Right now it's kind of like this relegated space that nobody knows is a garden. So number one, you're going to know that it's either a flower or a vegetable garden when you're walking by. It's also going to have plenty of seating within it, so you can just come and hang out within to kind of hang out in the space and use it that way. If you take a look at my renderings, there's a little offshoot from this. That's actually part of where the sidewalk and the building of that's the library, Alberg, has a little alcove there because there's a set of stairs that lead down to the basement, which kind of creates this perfect rectangle. So we were talking about doing on-site composting, and that one's kind of out of the way, doesn't mess with any of the aesthetics. So we would be keeping that kind of relevated over into that corner while keeping the garden space maximized. The ones that I'm working on now are kind of the small scale, so about half of what I have designed there will be the space in which that I'm working with. And then I'm going to try several different box sizes just for appeal and ease of access. But other than that, some of the other things which we've been talking about are changes or just going through the association, the Senate, and the many facets there are, and talking about what's working, what's not working, what is or is not the role of certain jobs, and seeing how it would be affected if things were changed. Other than that, I stand for questions, if there are any. Senator Mounts.
Are there going to be any tools for the garden provided? Or
Yes.
Okay.
So over in the area I talked about having compost, there's also going to be a little shed that has all of our tools and whatnot. Not for rent, but to check out. So there will be how we have planned it. It may not end up this way, but how we've planned it is there's going to be a member there that you can come and check in with, and then we'll give you gloves and trowels and all kinds of stuff that you would need for whatever you're doing for that day. Any other questions? Seeing none. We'll move into Section 8, Other Reports. Item A, Academics Chair. Did I have a question?
Yeah, I was trying to get you before we went to the next section. I just want to amend the agenda to add FB-62-011 and FB-62-012.
Could you speak a little bit about them so we know what we'd be voting on?
Sure. They are FB-62-011 are individual funding requests, and then 62-012 is organizational funding requests.
With that, it does require a second. Senator Day with the second. If there are no objections, the agenda will be amended as such, and these items will fall under new business. Seeing none, that's where that will go. Back to you.
Okay, hi guys. So this last Monday, the 21st, I attended the Faculty Senate meeting. The main two topics that were discussed were the Gen Ed revisions and the faculty workload policy. To sum it up, the Gen Ed issue was a problem. Well, it became a problem when the Kansas Board of Regents changed the total amount of credits for a major down to 120. This was a problem for many programs because they had to cut courses because of this. So what they're wanting to change is the Gen Ed requirements. They're wanting to lower it so that they can add these courses back into the major. The current policy is at 42 credits. The proposal is to get it down to 33. On Monday, they were trying to amend it to 36, but that failed at the meeting. So it's still currently proposed to be 33 credits. They'll also be voting on this issue November 11th, so I will try to attend that, along with I do believe to attend future Faculty Senate meetings as well. And I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for the chair? Senator Ritchie?
Did you happen to get a general feel for like how the room stood in terms of in favor and not in favor for the bill?
So it did seem kind of divided. There was an issue with the such as engineering, the engineering college, how they want to bring it down, cut the Gen Ed, but also LAS doesn't want to cut the Gen Ed. So there is debate between those two.
Any other questions for the chair? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move into item B, Safety and Student Services Chair.
So for this week, it's mainly been in-house stuff, doing my roles as Safety and Student Services Chair, but we do have an update for you for our next event. It's Coffee with a Cop. It's going to be November 13th, a Wednesday, from 10 a.m. to noon. And the other thing I had was slipping my mind, so that's it.
Any questions for the chair? Seeing none, we'll move into item C, Diversity, Empowerment, and Inclusion Chair.
Alrighty, so this week again, same as the former speaker. It's been a lot of just general dealing with emails and all that fun stuff with my position. That being said, tomorrow I will be filming a pronouns video, educational, both how to use them and also on the history of pronouns and the singular they and all that fun stuff. I'll be doing that tomorrow with Daniel English, who is kind of essentially he's the graduate assistant at ODI, and so I will be editing that and hopefully getting that out before the 31st of this month to celebrate LGBTQ History Month. Other than that, it's just been a lot of paperwork and fun stuff.
Any questions for the chair? Senator Cunningham?
Okay, this is kind of like a dumb question, but like, where do you put those videos? Like, is it on the diversity website, or like, where would I find those?
So I think the plan right now, as I discussed with the DPR, is we're going to post the video on Facebook and on our YouTube channel, and then link both of those or one of those or whatever, have like a screenshot on Twitter and Instagram, since their time limits are like pretty restrictive, and just link the videos on those different social media platforms. And then can probably convince the social media person at ODI to share our stuff as well, since I work there.
Any other questions for the chair? Seeing none, we'll move into section 9, appointments. Item A. Whoa, you're right. Sorry. I highlighted the wrong one and skipped people. My bad. Item D, Ways and Means Chair.
Hello, everyone. So, my committee, we've been working on the Supreme Court bills, and you will be seeing a few of those tonight, and then there are more to come. So if you have questions, you can ask during the questioning period for those bills. Then we will be moving on to the election commission stuff. And once we start looking into that, I'll keep you updated that, hey, it's almost coming to the Senate floor and whatnot. Other than that, some of the fun stuff that we are looking forward to do, like we just discussed this briefly, like in my committee, and I discussed it with Gabe, that maybe the Ways and Means Committee can host like a internal social with like senators and whatnot. And so that's an idea that is being bounced around, and I'll get back to you once something is decided on or confirmed. So, wait for that. And now I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for the chair? Seeing none, now we'll move into section 9, appointments.
With a motion,
Senator Ritchie.
I move to recess for 15 minutes.
Does require a second. Seeing none. We'll continue on.
With a motion,
Senator Mounts.
I move to recess for 5 minutes.
Senator James with a second. All those in favor of a 5-minute recess? All opposed? Thank you. I do believe. Majority. We did reach majority with 18 in favor, so we'll take a recess for 5 minutes, re-adjourn at 9 p.m.
No, 8:50. You said 5 minutes.
You're right. Sorry. Can't do math today.
Check test one.
Senators, take your seats. Coming back off of recess, I call us back into order at 8:50. With that, we now have to take roll again. When I call your name, please answer with either present or here. Senator Azadlani.
Here.
Senator Babin.
Present.
Senator Bradley. Senator Brown.
Here.
Senator Castillo.
Present.
Senator Cowden.
Present.
Senator Cunningham.
Present.
Senator Day.
Here.
Senator Ezell.
Here.
Senator Flores.
Here.
Senator Gibson.
Here.
Senator Glover. Senator Hopper.
Here.
Senator James.
Here.
Senator Kata.
Here.
Senator Kahinde. Senator Kendrick.
Here.
Senator Kennedy.
Present.
Senator Khan.
Here.
Senator Lepetsky.
Present.
Senator Majors.
Present.
Senator Martin. Senator Mattson.
Present.
Senator John Miller. Senator Kate Miller.
Here.
Senator Morgan. Senator Mounts.
Present.
Senator Nazir.
Present.
Senator Nguyen.
Here.
Senator Peter.
Here.
Senator Ritchie.
Present.
Sanchez is excused. Senator Spencer.
Present.
Senator Taran.
Here.
Senator Tubak.
Present.
Senator Tucker is not here. Senator Wang. Senator Webb.
Here.
Senator Wright.
Present.
Senator Zacharias.
Here.
And you just walk back in. Where are you at, Miller? What am I going to do for that? With that, we're still at quorum, so we can continue.
With the motion.
Simple majority, I'll get to you in a second. Simple majority is still 17, 2/3 of present, still 22, 2/3 majority is 28. Senator Mounts.
I move to add SB 62069 to new business.
Do you explain the bill before we vote on this?
This bill is in conjunction with Senate Bill 62068, the Judicial Records Act. These are constitutional change or governing document changes. There we go. So these go hand in hand with each other, and so I figured it's best to explain both of them today, so I don't have to do it twice.
Senator Khan, these have passed your committee, correct?
Yes.
Seeing that, it will require a second. Senator Ezell with the second. All those in favor of adding this to the agenda, please raise your hand and hold them high. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries, receiving 28 total in favor. And that was 69, correct? What was the title of that? I'll look it up. With that, coming back to the item at hand, under appointments, item A, SB-62-071, appointing the position of Supreme Court Justice. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
So, Wambi has class on Wednesday nights, so she's not able to be here. So I had her send me a little paragraph as to what she wanted to say to all of you. So this is what she wrote. My name is Wambi, and I am thrilled to be a Supreme Court Justice for Student Government Association. I am a sophomore studying criminal justice, as well as being heavily involved here at WSU. I am active in the roles of transition mentor and resident assistant, as well as in organizations such as African Student Association and Black Student Union. I was reached out to by the Assistant Director Gabriel Fonseca and encouraged by fellow transition mentors Ivan Castillo and Mackenzie Haas to apply for this position. I feel that as a criminal justice student, not only will I be fit for this position in terms of the education I have received, but this position will also give me useful experience for the future. As a justice, I would handle cases with an open mind and be willing to understand the entirety of a case before making any decisions. Communication is one of my greatest strengths, and I value it in roles such as this, so discussing cases in full detail is my priority. In this position, I also hope to help merge the gap between the Senate and the executive branches of SGA. This would require help on both sides, but I am positive that it could work as long as we all put in some effort. I trust Director of Public Relations Mackenzie Haas and Senator at Large Ivan Castillo to answer any questions that you all may have for me on my behalf, as I am currently on duty at the Flats. Thank you. Sorry, I thought it was class, but she is on duty.
Are there any questions for the author? Seeing none, thank you. As it has been offered by the nominee, are there any questions for the nominee to be answered by DPR Haas or at-large Senator Castillo? Senator Khan.
So, has the nominee ever been in any government-related position or anything related to SGA before?
That I know of, no, but she was very eager to apply for this position, and she was very interested in it, and so that's kind of the extent of that answer. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
I think it does.
Okay. Any other questions for the nominee? Senator Zacharias.
With the nominee's busy schedule, have they allotted some time specifically for this role?
So when I spoke to her about this position, I kind of outlined the requirements, so time commitments and stuff like that. And from what I got from her, it seemed like she would be confident enough into making time for this position. So yeah, she does have a busy schedule, but she is committed to this position if she is appointed, so she would make the time for it.
Any other questions for the nominee? Seeing none, we'll move into the debate period. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate at this time? Senator Mounts.
So I had the awesome privilege of living across the hall from the nominee at Shucker Hall last year, and she was definitely one of my favorite neighbors. No offense to the at-large senator who is also my neighbor. But she is definitely qualified for this position. I actually spoke to her about it, I believe, yesterday. She is super excited. I know she's been doing review over the journal and kind of getting a feel for it in SGA. And I know she has the passion and dedication for this position, so I will definitely be voting in favor.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in? Senator Lepetsky.
I would also like to speak in favor of this nominee. I had the pleasure of working with her and becoming a good friend of hers over the summer. And I know just from speaking from her, she's super eager about this position. She loves obviously she's in the criminal justice major, so she's super passionate about it. And I also know just from becoming a good friend of hers, she's very open-minded and would look at every aspect from all sides.
Senator Tubach, do you still have a debate?
So I also lived in the LSC with Wambi, and we had a few classes together, and she's a wonderful person and very responsible, and I think she would be a good fit for this position. Thank you.
Any other individuals wishing to debate at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period. For your information, this one does require a 2/3 of present, which is a total of 22 total in favor. All those in favor, please raise your hand and hold them high. All opposed, same sign. SB-62-071 passes its 2/3 of present requirement with 32 total in favor, 0 against, and 9 abstentions.
Point of information.
Senator Zacharias.
So I'm not sure if these are true, but did any other current justices resign, or will they now be able to meet quorum?
We still need one student. Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe one more student.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we need one more student or a faculty member for the Supreme Court to meet quorum. So I don't know if anybody else has resigned. That's the last thing I've heard.
And then for reference, and I'm not sure if Senator Cowden mentioned, the faculty did bring up seeking to fill their seats. So hopefully they will get a name soon.
With that, we'll move into item B, SB-62-072, appointing university committee member. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
No.
Did you close the poll? Yeah. 72. Right there. It's up there, right? Sweet. Now that you can see it, are there any questions for the author? Seeing none, as the nominee is here, do you wish to speak to this bill?
Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. So this is the publication. Oh, you want, okay.
Podium, please.
Yeah, so this is the publication board, so it's the oversight board for the Sunflower. I previously served on this committee last year, and I've been an avid reader throughout my entire time at Wichita State University. It's a pretty laid-back committee for the most part. People from the Sunflower come in, they give an update on how the paper's doing and their plans for the future, and then, as a person on the committee, I'd give feedback, and, towards the end of the year, we end up hiring the new editor-in-chief, and so that's pretty much what it does. It meets, I think, once a month or so.
Are there any questions for the nominee? Senator Mounts.
How many committees is this now you've been appointed to?
I think this is the third one, but Lucas's committee that I was appointed to just finished up, so I can now fill that slot with this one.
Any other questions for the nominee? Senator Babin.
Yeah, could you explain more what the oversight is exactly that this committee does?
It's pretty limited, so most of it, it ramps up towards the end of the year when stuff like the budget comes up, but most of it is planning for the future, if that kind of makes sense. So they'll bring in like what their funding levels or how much advertising they've brought in so far and where they think they're going to go and how that affects the operation of the paper and stuff like that. Does that kind of make some level of sense?
So as a reminder, let's keep the questions germane. You started answering before I can cut you off. The questions are about whether or not the individual can fill the role, not about the role. Technically, but it's a clarification on what they would be filling, and I would have allowed it anyway. But as a reminder, it's about the individual's capability of fulfilling the need. Are there any other questions for the nominee? Seeing none, you may be seated.
With the motion,
Senator James.
motion to pass by unanimous consent.
To adopt by unanimous consensus.
I apologize.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, SB-62-072 passes with unanimous consent of the Senate. Moving into Section 10, unfinished business. Item A, SB-62-060, granting recognition to the Electrical Engineering and Computer Science PhD Club. As a reminder, we heard from this one last time, kind of. And we'll be moving directly into the debate if there are no further questions. With that, is there anyone wishing to speak in debate at this time? Senator Mounts.
Motion to adopt by unanimous consensus.
Any objections? Seeing none, SB-62-060 has passed with unanimous consent of the Senate.
Point of information.
Senator Ritchie.
In the bill, the 502 vote, what does that mean?
You talking about the bill we just passed? So the 502 vote on line, what is that, 9? That's the one you're speaking of, right?
Yes.
So that one is with the process that legislation goes through. These are submitted to myself. They come to the Rules and Administration Committee to be assigned to a committee. And then after that committee, after it is assigned, that committee then hears and reviews. It then has to get reported out of that committee, which is a vote. And that is what is captured here. So they have recommended it be passed with 5 of their members in favor, 0 against, and 2 abstentions. I know it's a long-winded way to get to, I think, what you were saying. What was the 5? What was the 0? What was the 2? But I wanted to explain the whole gambit. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Moving into item B, SB-62-061, grant recognition to the tabletop gaming. Are there any further questions for this group? Seeing none, we'll move into the debate. Is anyone wishing to debate at this time? Senator Zacharias.
I move to adopt by unanimous consensus.
Any objections? Seeing none, SB-62-061 has passed with unanimous consent of the Senate. Moving into item C, SB-62-063, grant recognition. I retyped it in there, but I didn't type it there. To the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, Engineering and Medicine and Biology Society, WSU. Are there any further questions about this bill? Is that a question? That's fine.
All right.
You would do that in debate to answer that question. Seeing none, we'll move directly into the debate. Senator Khan.
I motion to pass the bill with unanimous consensus.
Any objections? Seeing none, SB-62-063 has passed with unanimous consent of the Senate. Moving into item D, SB-62-067, grant recognition to the Society of Cosplayers. Are there any further questions? Senator Zacharias.
Why is this 6-7 when we just did 6-3?
Because 6-4 and 6-5 have already been passed by the Senate. So 6-6, I believe, is... I can look it up. Hold on.
6-4 was appointing students to the Senate Standing Committee. 6-5 was appointing the position of returning senator. 6-6 was appointing the position of at-large senator.
Thank you. So those have already passed, and this was received its number as it comes into the line, and it holds its place. So it is just now, all right, last time it came in for its first read, but still reserved its number of when it was received. Does that make sense? Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll move directly into debate. Senator Cowden.
I motion to adopt with unanimous consensus. Consensus.
Any objections? With that, SB-62-067 has passed with unanimous consent of the Senate. Moving into Section 11, New Business. Item A, SB-62-068, the Judicial Records Act. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
Yes.
From the podium.
I apologize, my computer's at like 2%. Alrighty, so I'm not going to read any of these word for word. That's boring. So I'm just going to explain about each action. So the first action is amend Statute 23, Section 2. So basically what the plan right now is we're going to pass these two pieces of legislation, wait for a constitutional amendment vote to happen. Then we're going to pass another one that's going to be a brand new statute which governs the way the Supreme Court works. So we have to amend a couple other things in the Constitution for it to basically balance out and not cause any issues or confusion or make it essentially so it's not constitutional. So this one, right now, the Supreme Court writes their own policies and procedures. We're going to be taking that under a statute instead of them doing that. So this edits this Section 2 basically. The judicial record do include those policies and procedures, but they can't write their own. And then moving on to Action 2, amends Statute 23, Section 8 to strike. This one's kind of it's really weird, but essentially we can ask opinions of the court just in writing. However, the president has to request it as an executive order. So I figured might as well just take that out and everyone can do it the same way. So that's what that one's doing. And then striking Statute 23, Section 9. This just goes back to their policies and procedures. We don't need that in the Constitution. It creates some issues. So those are just relating to how policies and procedures are submitted to the journal.
Are there any questions for the author? Senator Ritchie.
Does this bill take away the power for the Supreme Court to author their own policies and procedures?
So currently, right now, the Senate authors the procedures for both the executive branch and the Senate. Technically, yes. What will be so there's like 3 levels to this plan. Essentially, it's going to kind of complicated to explain. In the most simplest terms, yes, it takes the power away. However, we will be meeting with the Supreme Court to figure out which policies and procedures need to happen. We'll be including those in another statute. And then we will essentially pass another constitutional amendment that'll make that statute really, really hard for the Senate to change. So it's going to be more set in stone than what they have right now. And it's going to be harder for us to change than, say, in the instance that the Senate disagrees with the Supreme Court.
Any other questions for the author? Seeing none, we'll move into debate and vote on this item next week. Moving into our new item B.
Mr. Michael, you have 15 minutes left in your meeting.
That's true. Senator Wright. Do believe it requires a second. Fixed time to adjourn. Yes. Senator Mounts with a second. Does require a majority vote. With that, all those in favor, please raise your hand and hold them high. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries, receiving 26 total in favor, with a requirement of 17. Now moving into item B. This is not your bill. You can sit down if you like. Item B is FB-62-011, organizational funding. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
Yes, so this bill is a little bit larger than our usual ones, and that's just because it's 2 weeks lumped into one bill. So we didn't meet quorum last week, so those bills are in here, and I just threw in what we talked about today as well. So there you go.
Are there any questions for the author? Seeing none, we'll move into debate on this item. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate at this time? Funding bill. Senator Mounts.
Motion to adopt by unanimous consensus.
Any objections? Seeing none, FB-62-011 has been approved with unanimous consent of the Senate. That will move into item C, FB-62-012, individual funding. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
No.
Are there any questions for the author? You got it up, right? Seeing none, we'll move into debate on this item. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate at this time? Senator Nazir.
I move to adopt by unanimous consent.
Sorry. Any objections?
Just point of information. Did we not include names on what we're allocating funds for anymore?
Slide over. Megan Stein, yeah. And then individual funding of above. Thanks.
You gotta show the whole thing. Bless you. Moving back, now that you've had a chance to review, are there any objections to the unanimous consensus? Seeing none, FB-62-012 has been passed with unanimous consent of the Senate. Moving into item D, SB-62-069, Supreme Court Constitutional Adjustment Act. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
Alrighty, part two. So, first action. So the first one we looked at was a statute amendment. This is a constitutional amendment. This one has to be voted on, I'm assuming, during a special election that we're probably having. So this needs to be voted on by the student body. But essentially, what's going on? Action one, and these are with the edits that the committee did make. So what is struck out? There's this weird clause in there talking about members serving third and or more terms, and essentially if they're doing that, they get to serve the rest of it. If we don't have any serving three or more terms, they can only serve 2, so we're just deleting that because it's kind of unnecessary. And we think it was put in just because there was like a carryover when the term limits were input into the Constitution, so not really sure what happened there. Action 2 is amending Article 4. Article 4 is the Supreme Court article. That's the one that deals with everything. So this one, we're striking out who can request an advisory opinion. So right now it's the president, it is the Senate, and it is the student advocate. What this amendment does is any member of the association that includes students are able to actually draft legislation, do actually get to, okay, you guys are good. So basically, anyone who is a student at this university can make an advisory opinion request of the Supreme Court. These aren't the correct changes, Chairperson Khan.
That's what I was saying. Do you have the correct version that you can send?
She has not.
We have in there.
She has not emailed it to me. Senator Khan, where's your computer?
I believe. I'm trying to remember what happened. So this bill was in my committee today, and we approved it today, but it seems like it's not updated.
Seeing as we don't have the updated one, I would entertain a motion to table this until next week's meeting.
Motion?
Senator James.
Motion to table previous bill.
To
table the bill.
Till
next week.
Thank you. Does require a second. All those if there are, I'm going to try something. If there are no objections, it will be tabled until next week. See, there has been an objection, so we cannot do that.
What point of information?
Senator James.
Not debatable at all?
For unanimous, essentially I tried to do a unanimous consent. When you do that and even one person says, hey, that's the vote, there's a problem, and we'd go back. So the motion has failed because it wasn't unanimous.
Michael,
Does it have to be?
If you object it, you mean that you then move into the vote. It doesn't kill the motion. It just, you objected the unanimous consent, so now you're forced to take a vote.
No, we're in the vote. With that, all those in favor, please raise your hand and hold them high. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Sorry, I had to make sure I was going off the right one. So the vote received 26 total in favor, 3 against, and a few abstentions. Let's see, 32, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Oh, it passes. I was just trying to get the exception numbers. So 32. 3 abstentions. I don't know why my brain couldn't do math for a second. So it does pass, and this will be tabled until next week.
Point of information.
Senator Ritchie.
Will this be included in this week's email?
I will ensure to, after this meeting, to send it out so that you all have it for your record to review until next week. I believe that was your question.
Yes.
Point of information.
Senator
Does this now
Zacharias.
mean that next week will be the first read, which means it won't be voted on until...
That is correct.
Okay.
Information.
Senator Tubak.
I thought the committee functioned as a first read.
It does not.
It does not? Okay.
So it's first read for the floor. But that is something that we're thinking about changing. So with this one being tabled, let me mark this. Table to next week. That is it for everything that we had on the agenda. We'll move into item 12, swearing in. We don't have to do. We'll move past that into section 13, remarks and announcements. Are there any remarks or announcements at this time? Senator Zacharias.
Sorry, I just wanted to explain myself. So I motioned against it because that means we won't be able to vote on this matter until the 6th of November, and we were hoping to get it done so that since it does have to be done through a special election, it would give ample time for that. So, the sooner the better kind of thing. That's why I did that. Just wanted to explain myself. So, okay.
President Miller.
Just real quick, those flyers that were handed out, please do not leave them behind. So if you don't want them, make a pile of them on a table. Just clean up after yourselves with those. Thank you.
Senator Lepetsky.
I just wanted to make an announcement that the transition mentor applications are open. So if anyone was interested in applying, the applications are due October 30th, and you can find them on wichita.edu/TM.
Senator Castillo.
I just wanted to plug the Anything Goes musical, which is going to be running next week from October 31st through November 3rd. The times for that are 7:30 p.m., October 31st through November 2nd, and then a matinee at 2 p.m. on Sunday, November 3rd. You can get those tickets at the box office in the Dirksen Fine Arts Center. And please come out and support your fellow students during the musical. Thank you.
With a motion.
Senator Mounts.
I move to take from the table Senate Bill 6269.
Does require a second. Senator Zacharias with the second. This is not debatable, so we'll move directly into the vote. It does require a simple majority, which is 17 to pass. All those in favor, please raise your hand and hold them high. Please put your hands down. It has been asked that I explain what we are voting on, so I will do so. With that, we have just tabled SB-62-069 because we didn't have the current copy. This copy has been amended and should reflect the amendments that were made within the committee. It has thus been motioned that we untable it and talk about it right now. That is what we are voting on. With that, please raise your hands if you are in favor of doing so. All opposed? Same sign. Motion carries, receiving 25 total in favor, 0 against, and 7 abstentions. We will now move directly into SB-62-069. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
Yes. Okay, I'm super sorry, Gail. Anyways, so I will actually be, let me just explain the rest of this real quick. So Article 2, what it's doing is talking about authority of the court. Anyone can get an advisory opinion. Essentially, advisory opinion is, can we do this, yes or no? Supreme Court gives their opinion. They hold no weight because it's an advisory opinion. Their decisions hold weight. This is just basically a question, so anyone can ask that. Could you scroll down, Chairperson? So the next action, this one is talking about the rules and procedures. Again, that one's just editing it. And then it talks about minutes and written opinions involving the association. They have to be sent to the actual office to be filed. Chairperson, could you please scroll down? And that kind of fixes everything else. And then I'm sure Chairperson Khan has a amendment, which I will consider a friendly amendment, correct? Okay, so you already made the change. So this is the bill in its entirety that was passed by the committee, I believe. Was it 7? 7 in favor?
We should have the vote recorded.
I do have the vote recorded.
So look at the recorded vote. While we're waiting on that, are there any questions for the author? Senator Wright.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious as to the reasoning behind removing the ability of the court to set their own policies and procedures.
As I explained during the last bill, essentially, so yes, we're removing their power. However, we will still be working with the Supreme Court to get the proper policies and procedures down that we need. So this is trying to involve cooperation between the two branches and hopefully 3. Since we already control the policies and procedures for not only the executive branch but the Senate, we figured make a new statute, which will come in a later bill once the constitutional amendments pass, and then what I've done right now is the new bill has their current policies and procedures in it, and then we'll eventually edit that and then make it hard to change, so the Senate, like, basically just on a whim can't just change the rules and procedures. So it's focusing on cooperation to create these rules and procedures for the actual, like, judicial branch, and then making it mostly solidified.
Okay, thank you.
So you have make another line. Senator Khan.
All right, so we had 5 in favor and 1 abstained for this bill.
Senator Babin.
What is the reasoning behind needing this to go through so quickly?
So if y'all remember a bill I passed 2 or 3 weeks ago, I don't quite remember, and actually the first resolution passed this year, or this session, we were originally supposed to have something by the end of, I believe, the last meeting of September. The new bill is we have to have something by the last meeting of October. So if we don't have anything, i.e. this, we will be in violation of our own Constitution, as we had passed it in a Senate bill. So
Doesn't say that you have to have it passed. It just says you have to have recommended something, which is this right here.
either way, I mean, it's best to have it passed by the end of the October, or the last meeting of October, which is next week.
Any other questions for the author? Seeing none, thank you. You may be seated. We'll now move into the debating period. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate at this time?
Point
point of information,
Senator James.
isn't this the first read?
You're right. So we'll move into debate and vote next week. With that, moving back into Section 13, remarks and announcements. Senator Nazir.
Just a personal thought, but I think that when something that important needs to be passed or introduced, I don't think it should be rushed into. Not like trying to attack you or anything, but I feel like when something's that important, I feel like we should have more time to talk about it rather than rushing through it so that there's no misunderstandings. So.
President Miller.
Just a reminder that next week for Senate is our costume contest. So I'm sorry if I stole that from you. VP Berth can provide more information about that. But yeah, just so you all know.
Thank you. Any other remarks and announcements? Senator Mounts.
Thank you all for working with me. We were confused, and we thought the changes had saved, and they hadn't, and the shared drive is all weird and stuff like that. So I really appreciate all of you working with me on that. This wasn't a rushed-in build. I've been working on changes to the Supreme Court since this session started back in May. I worked with multiple senators, some of which who are not in this Senate anymore, unfortunately. But I have had multiple meetings, and these are the changes that after the few months I've been working on this, I feel as are important, and so to pass these two bills to make sure both get signed and put into the special election to make sure we can actually do these constitutional amendments, that's really important to me, and that's also really important to make this actual functioning student government, because without the balance of three branches, we have nothing. So I appreciate you all working with me on that, and I'm sorry for keeping you all here so late.
Senator Zacharias.
Also, I would really like it if you just made sure to the best of your ability that you read everything that is sent out in advance, and that includes applications and stuff. That way we are prepared for our meetings so that they go swifter, and also so that next meeting, because this is the first read for a reason, now you have an entire week to question it, talk to your other senators, talk to your constituents. So please take this time to look into the bills that we have on the floor as well as our resolutions, and come back with the most educated thoughts that are possible for making your decisions here in Senate.
Senator Day.
I would like to echo some previous senators. I was on the committee the ad hoc committee that began in May, and I can confirm that this change is long overdue because it was supposed to be done a long time ago, and because of a variety of things, such as a few senators leaving, it wasn't done. So I think it's very important for it to be done relatively soon, and that doesn't mean you have to go along with it, but just keep that in mind.
As a correction, that was not a committee. It was a group. We had that discussion with the group, and they chose to go with group instead of committee. Senator Ritchie.
Something totally unrelated. Today there was an event in the Dirksen Fine Arts Center Amphitheater hosted by Shift Space just to test how that space was. And if any of you talk to your constituents, I'd be interested in hearing their feedback on what that space is like and what it should be used for.
Any other remarks and announcements? Senator Mounts.
Turn in your senator hours before midnight. And also, one other thing I've noticed, there is a question of germaneness, and that is true when it comes to certain questioning periods. That being said, if there ever is a disagreement with the chairperson of any committee or even the Senate, you are able to protest that decision, and we can vote on it. I believe it is with a 2/3 majority vote of the Senate, we can overturn that decision. So just keep that in mind as your rights as senators if there is a question that you think should be asked to best represent your constituents.
Thank you to everybody doing my job tonight. With that, are there any other remarks and announcements?
Seeing none, I have a few. Since you mentioned Senator hours, there are a lot of you that have not been submitting Senator hours. There are also a lot of other issues, whether that be attendance or not. This is your formal warning that my leniency is now over. The next time that this happens and you are over, you will be sent to SRB, which is Senate Review Board. With that, as President Miller did mention, next week's meeting on the 30th is a costume party. That does not mean that you are mandated to participate. You can show up. There is no dress code for this one, so you can show up in normal attire that is appropriate to be in public with, or a costume. The way in which that will happen is when you come in to sit down, there will be a little note card in front of you. We'll take a time just before we start, so we'll start a little earlier. Not the actual meeting, but we'll convene here a little early so that we can all introduce ourselves and what our costume is. You will then write the name of the individual you think has the best costume. We will collect it. We will hold our meeting. During remarks and announcements, we will make the winner announcement. Any questions on that process? Senator Tron?
Is there also a group category?
No.
Okay.
Senator Zacharias?
So I'm not quite sure what the regulations are for the university, but I'm pretty sure you can't like wear masks and stuff for your costumes. Does that apply to this? I'm not sure. Okay.
Considering we're on the university.
Does anyone know what those rules are? Because I don't.
Senator Tron?
You can't have like toy guns either. I only know this because it was posted up in Shocker Hall, or like any sort of weapons, or like I know chainsaws was one of them that was listed. Wild, I know, no masks and things, anything that can like be like whatever, misinterpreted as real or dangerous or harmful to yourself or others.
Thank you for that clarification.
Michael, can I also add in, make sure with your costumes it's also that we're not, it's appropriate we're not being culturally appropriation, so that we're truly being sensitive and also aware of how we're representing, but also that we're not representing other cultures that are not our own. So.
With that, are there any other remarks and announcements? Not right now. We've got 3 minutes. Seeing no further remarks and announcements, we will adjourn at 9:42 with a silent roll call. Can I get Senator Cunningham and Senator Brown to come up here, please?
Chairs, can I all meet with you for a moment too? Just really quick. Please and thank you.
Also, if you all want cookies, they're up here in the front.
Senator Cunningham, I do need to speak to you.